Okay. Hey, everybody. All right, here we are live. Okay, welcome everybody to the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast. As usual, I have Coach Dustin and Coach Brad here with me tonight. So, guys, welcome. Thanks for joining me again here tonight. And again, we're going to cut to the intro in a few seconds here, but I want to set up what we're going to talk about tonight. This is going to be really, really fun because I didn't want to map this out. I want to just have a really organic conversation, see how deep we can go in this. But this is a very interesting topic. A lot of people ask questions about this. This is my instructor, Paul, used to always say that describing this was like trying to describe something sweet to somebody who's never tasted something sweet. And tonight we're going to talk killer instinct. All right, everybody, so stick around. We'll cut to the intro back in 60 seconds, and we're going to go deep on killer instinct.
Many people understand that they can at any time become the target of a violent criminal assault. These same people know that they have a life, family, and property worth defending. Criminals understand that violence is its own language. Violence is not the sport of competition. Violence is not the art of fighting. Violence is about one thing: destruction. There are those who believe that violence, even in self-defense, is morally wrong. Then there are good people like you who know that defending yourself, family, and others, as well as your property, is not only a personal right, but a duty within a civilized society. Understand, violent assaults are won before they occur. People who learn strategy survive. People who do not will not. For those brave people who believe life is precious and worth defending,
welcome to the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast. All right, everybody. Okay, we're back. Listen, tonight we said we're going to talk about killer instinct. Now, this is something that, over 27 years of coaching and training, I get asked this so much. Everybody wants to know. Everybody wants it. Everybody wants to know how to get it. Everyone wants to know what it is. And I'm no different. When I first started my training, I was obsessed with killer instinct, talking to my instructors, my mentors, because I saw it in them. I could feel it. I've seen it. And I was like, I need to understand this on a much deeper level. So tonight we're going to do our very best to go deep, and we're going to kind of reveal at least some of the foundational elements that make up killer instinct. So let's start at the beginning. My first question is this: what is killer instinct? And I'd just like you guys to give me a visceral response to that. What is killer instinct?
The first thing that hit me when you said that's what you want to talk about was kind of getting into the discussion of like the place of no pity. So meaning no pity for yourself. Like, you know what I mean? Not necessarily, well, it's both. It's the person who's trying to assault you, but it's also yourself. And I'm more coming at it from that angle right now, is like, it's that ability to not worry about what happens to you. Do you know what I mean? It's 100% investment in survival, but not, I don't know, it's not, now that sounds counterintuitive. It's like, you're not worried about what happens to you, but it's all about surviving. So, I mean, you guys know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, the place of no self-pity, it's like, it's just that being able to let go, that being able to focus all your effort and energy on the strategies, tactics, and tools you need to survive that situation, right? That violent criminal assault. And it's like, you can't be worrying about what happens to you, because that's going to force you or lead you to want to hold back a little bit. And if you hold back, I mean, your timing's going to be off, everything's going to be off, and you're going to do worse for sure. So I'll start us there.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's great. That's really good. Okay, Brad, what is your visceral response to what is killer instinct?
Yeah, you know what? My head kind of just went to somewhere immediately, and that was conviction of belief. Now, whatever that belief is, but having the conviction behind it. And another word that I want to attach to it that I think that resonates with me is certainty. Again, certainty of belief, conviction of action, of belief, of, like your right to life, liberty, freedom, and security. Those types of things that really kind of like, when I reflecting upon killer instinct, it's very much of a internal conversation, internal work, right? on oneself, I think, because you got to go deep in terms of like who you are as a man, as a woman. Who what do you believe in your right to defend yourself? So really understanding that side of things, right? So if that's clear as much
Yeah.
as it could.
Well, I think with both your answers, I mean, I think they're great answers. And I think that right there, if we just expanded on what you guys each just said, that we could easily do an entire podcast on that. And we will unpack that as well as I think throw in some other angles. But here's where I would start. Again, we want to try and build a framework of simplicity so that people can understand this. Because again, I remember like this is, it's hard to see the forest from all the trees. When you're standing in it, it's hard to really understand what killer instinct is because, and here's what my instructors, here was the first answer that they ever gave me when I asked the question, what is killer instinct? And the answer was pretty clear, but at the same time, not easy. And he said this, he said, killer instinct is both an attribute and simultaneously a mindset. And I really like that. And of course, at the time, I mean, I didn't understand the depths and how many layers there were on his answer, but it is an attribute. Much like timing or speed or strength or body mechanics, there's attributes. And those are the qualities that we all possess. We all have attributes, and we can develop these attributes. And these attributes allow us to do things, right? It takes attributes to open a door. It takes attributes to tie your shoes. So killer instinct is an attribute. And why I like that is because it really made it more onto, like, almost gave it a tangible feeling to me, right? We talked about this in our last podcast. I mean, when you're born, you don't know how to walk. You can't feed yourself. You don't have the attributes. They haven't developed yet. The potential's there, but you haven't developed them yet. Now, if you take a child, an infant, and you give them no opportunities to walk, they will not walk. The potential is there, but they have to be allowed the freedom and the encouragement to actually go through the process. So if you think of killer instinct as an attribute, then we understand that the potential is there for all of us. Because I believe there are people out there that go, well, I don't know if I have that. That's not me. Right? You remember, you guys, I've heard the analogy growing up, right? I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
And often that's used by men, typically, right? And that was a way for guys to just justify, say, well, I'm a lover, not a fighter. And that becomes a paradigm. That becomes their self-image. Like, I'm 51 years old. I'm a crawler, not a walker. Always have been. Never really learned to get that walking thing down. I'm a crawler, not a walker. You know what I mean? Well, maybe you are crawling everywhere, but you have the potential to walk. You know what I mean? Now, if you did not have the right mix of circumstances, the necessity, the whatever it is, and so you never developed the skills to walk, you never developed the killer instinct side, because again, how in our society are we taught about killer instinct? How are we taught to develop it? And I don't want to go too far off in this, but we could have a whole conversation about whether society even wants men to have killer instinct anymore. There's the whole thing about being labeled hypermasculine. So this could go in a whole different conversation that way. So I don't want to go much deeper into that tonight than to put that out there. But killer instinct is an attribute. The potential is there in all of us, male or female. The human species has the attribute of killer instinct, and at the same time, it is simultaneously a mindset. And I was always, I remember for years really trying to think about that. What's the difference? It's an attribute and it's a mindset or a state. And this kind of lends itself almost to a little bit what both you and Brad touched on, and that is your paradigms or your mindset is belief. What you believe, your convictions, the beliefs that you hold dearest and to be the most stabilized beliefs that you have, that becomes your mindset. And so this idea of when we talk about killer instinct, it is both an attribute as well as a mindset. And we'll leave this for a little bit and move on, but that means that there is a process for how you can work this. And let me early on in the podcast, let me ask you guys this question. Can anybody, regardless of age, regardless of current paradigms, current mindset, current beliefs, can anybody develop their can they develop their killer instinct? Can they sharpen it? Can they hone it?
Unequivocally,
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
Okay. Unequivocally, yes. Absolutely, yes. And I agree 100%. And that's just a fact. Is everybody going to want to? No. Of course
That's
not.
your predisposition almost, right?
Well, again, that's you have beliefs and you might not want it. You might choose not to, but it's a choice. And that's important, I think, right in the beginning. It's a choice. And I'll throw maybe one quick analogy into this, right? Like, let's say there's somebody who's lived a really truly blessed life in the sense that from birth, they had parents that made them feel safe. They felt safe as a child. They felt safe as an adolescent. They felt safe as a teen. They were blessed maybe to grow up and be raised in environments that, for the most part, were very sterile from violence. Now, of course, everybody's going to be subjected to just human nature in terms of low-level shit stuff, but there are people that grow up safe. There are people that have the means to avoid confrontation, and so you could have somebody who's, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s even, that, says, I've never, again, we're back to the whole side of the attribute, I've never had the need to develop this killer instinct. I don't feel like I have it. And what I want to get is it's almost like, imagine at 20 years old having a stroke. Imagine at 30 years old having a stroke, 40, 50, 60 having a stroke. Now, you have a stroke and you lose mobility in your left leg. Let's say the left side of your body starts to shut down. Well, there are two types of people that are going to, when there's a stroke, right? There's the people that are going to work their asses off to get back and regain as much as they possibly fucking can. Regardless of whether they are told you can get back to 100% or you'll never get back to 100%, they're going to work. Because we know that there are therapies, there are training methodologies, there's, where you can regain and reteach yourself how to do certain things. And I only use this analogy because killer instinct is such powerful beliefs. It's such powerful emotional states that I'm trying to sit I'm trying to look at this from the perspective of somebody who might come across this podcast and really think like my whole world is so far away from killer instinct that I just don't think I have it. But it's kind of to me like, well, maybe your whole life it's like you have that stroke. You know what I mean? Like you've just been in these situations where you've never had the need to do it, but that side of you is paralyzed. That side of you, I believe, to truly the human experience, we have to be in touch with every part of ourselves, and violence is a part of human species. And to truly participate in integrated whole person development, to truly become the best version of ourselves, we have to know ourselves. Every part of ourselves, even the parts that we wish weren't necessary. And violence is one of those parts. So many people wish that it wasn't necessary, that it wasn't part of the human condition, right, or the human experience, but it is. And so hopefully that analogy kind of roots itself, because wherever you are, however removed you are from killer instinct, especially in men, there is a primal need inside of us to be in touch with that. If for no other reason other than to know ourselves on a much deeper level. Even if it's completely separate from ever saying, I'm not even looking at this in terms of needing to defend myself. To get in touch with the violent side of your nature is one of the most liberating and powerful experiences that a human can have. Because it's primal, it's hardwired into us, right? So I'm a big believer in not denying who and what we are. Again, even the parts that we maybe wish weren't part of us. But, and I'll give you one more thing that my instructors always said that always resonated. The individuals that have a vehicle, such as the weaponizing process, they have a vehicle that allows them to get in touch with the violent side of their nature. Remember, the nature, it's in us. Those people are among some of the most caring, compassionate, and contributing members of our society, because the deeper you go into the violent side of your nature, the more you discover the compassionate side of your nature. Whereas if you go into the compassionate side of your nature, it doesn't always reveal the dark side of your nature. And those people that go through this process and explore, they become trained and restrained. They become surgical, meaning that they have a control. They have an influence. Amateurs react, professionals act, we respond. So he always said that the guy that takes the gun and kicks open a door to a school and goes in and starts shooting children has never had a vehicle in his life to allow him to tap into the violent side of his nature and teach him how to understand it, see it, confront it, control it. Basically, they've never been taught how to express their emotions. Because do we know how to express happiness as adults? And this is all, I know it might seem like I'm going off topic, but this is all killer instinct. How many adults do you guys know that know how to truly express happiness?
Not all of them.
Not all of them. I'm going to say almost none of them. How many times how many times today, if you guys left your house today, how many times today did you walk down the street and see an adult who you instantaneously went, that's a happy motherfucker? Because he was skipping down the street, smiling, hey everybody, greeting people, doing all that stuff. How many people did you see today doing that?
Even when you none, and even when you do go out of your way to ask somebody how they're doing, 99% of the time, good.
Yep, I'm okay.
Even if they're ecstatic,
100%.
they'll tone it down and be like, good.
Yeah, and why do they do that? Because they don't want to make somebody else feel bad.
That's right.
100%. So we don't even know how to express our positive emotions. Never mind the negative emotions. And people say, well, there's a difference, because you ask how many times you see somebody walking down the street go, that's a happy motherfucker right there. How many times you walk down and see somebody that's fucking under the influence of stress, anxiety, fear, pain, stress, all that shit. And you say, oh, I saw 10 of those today. All just while driving. I didn't even get in my parking lot and I saw 10 of those guys. But they're not expressing in a healthy way. That is them boiling over. That's the pressure cooker, and the pressure is pouring out of the seams. They're not actually expressing. They're not in touch with their violent side. I mean, how many times have we come to training where you've got stress, fear, anxiety, worry, all the regular bullshit? I mean, life's an insidious motherfucker. Life's a hell of a thing to happen to somebody. Right? Yet you come to training and you get to tap into the violent side of your nature. You get to exist in the realm of life and death. You get to confront and are forced to confront these scenarios that are life and death, where killer instinct has to become the advisor. Like Carlos Castaneda, doesn't you talk about the place of no pity? And Carlos Castaneda talks infinitely about the place of no pity. And where you get beyond yourself, where you become into this emotionless place. And I don't mean emotion like because you're dead and you've suppressed and repressed your emotions and can't feel and can't express. It's the exact opposite. You're so in tune with your emotions that the emotions no longer rule you. It's a place of absolute calm. And to me, it's like the experience of when you actually have developed killer instinct and you flip that switch in the moment where the context of the situation determines the content, and the context determines that the content of killer instinct, of ruthlessness, viciousness, cunning, is necessary, and you flip that switch, it is like being in the eye of the tornado. It's absolute calm. It's eerie calm. Because you're not ruled. We're emotional creatures, but you are free from being ruled by your emotions in that moment. I mean, there's yogis, right? Not Yogi Bear. There's yogis, people that study yoga, that spend their entire lives looking for the still mind. And isn't it absolutely fascinating that you can find the still mind in the midst of a life and death battle? A matter of fact, it's imperative that you find the still mind, that you can create a calm mind in a life and death situation where chaos is everywhere. And yet out of that chaos, you can pull order. And that's the process. I mean, it's such an expedient process to learn to find your center, of like your true center where you can still your mind. So hopefully we're kind of painting a picture of what what killer instinct is in terms of an attribute as well as a state. And now I think what we can do is people again go, okay, I get it, I understand what you're saying, but like, how is this possible? Well, let's go first. Let's talk a little bit of what Brad mentioned on terms of beliefs, because we said that your mindset is a reflection of your beliefs, not your opinions, not your your moderate beliefs. It is a reflection of your convictions. Those are the strongest, most stabilized beliefs that we as human beings can have. So it is our convictions. So what would help us? What type of belief? What are a couple of beliefs that we would need to develop? And remember, I said develop. Beliefs can be developed. You can destabilize even the most convicted belief. You can knock legs off that table. Given enough time and understanding how to do it, you can change your beliefs. And when you change your belief, you change your paradigms, you change your perception, you change your self-image, right? It's like reprogramming the autopilot, and your subconscious begins to take you and move you to living a life in accordance with those beliefs. So we can do this. So what are some of the beliefs that we need to have? Brad, I'll throw it to you first because you talked about beliefs. But what are some of the, can you think of one or two beliefs? Let's just pick one that we need when you start talking killer instinct.
I'm worth it.
That's a powerful, powerful belief. Just the fact that you're worth it. Are you worth it? How many times, again, we're asking questions tonight, and I hope people are answering these questions as we sit here. But how many times in your life, think back, go as far back as you can, how many times in your life were you told by somebody that you respected, somebody that had influence in your life, how many times were you told that your life has value, that your life is worth it, that your life is worth defending?
Outside of myself, 0.
Yeah.
Outside of my tribe, 0. I've never had that. That wasn't part of my upbringing. That wasn't part of my paradigms. That wasn't part of my experience, which is fine because I am who I am today. Mm-hmm. But to answer that question, I'm like that wasn't a thing that was ever said to me.
Yeah, and you are. Sorry, go ahead. What'd you say, Dustin?
Oh, I was gonna say, I like a lot of people would be told like, "Oh, I was told I was loved." Lots, like everybody gets told that by someone or multiple people. But yeah, people don't. I don't think it's even on people's radar. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like if I look at my upbringing, no different than Brad's and yours. Like, I don't think it's that our parents didn't believe our lives were worth it. They just didn't know they should be telling us. Do you know what I mean? It's not on. I don't think it's on people's radar to point that out to people. I mean, we do it. We've all done it for our kids, but that's because we study this. But yeah, I think for other people, that's a kind of a foreign concept to go out of your way to tell somebody like your life is worth defending. Your life is worth fighting for. Outside of maybe military bigger scope, like I think on a country level, you would see that more. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it's worth fighting for your country, join the military, all that stuff. I think people will probably relate to that more. Yeah. But on an individual, personal level, yeah, far, far less. Yeah.
And I like that you brought up, Dustin. That's a really good point that we can just talk about real quickly. But what you mentioned was a global belief that the love of country, right, and like even certain rights that we have and freedoms within our country or as human beings, there is more of a global belief that these are worth fighting for. Right, so we may have been told that, we may have been raised on that, we may have witnessed that more with parents and uncles and aunts and stuff, fighting, serving in different ways. But then where are the personal beliefs? Because those are different than just the global beliefs. And on a personal level, like you said, and we have to differentiate. Having your parents or somebody in your life, that authority figure, telling you that you're loved, that they love you, even them saying I would do anything to protect you, like unconditional love is all beautiful and amazing and necessary, but different. Yeah. It is different than somebody saying your life has value, your life is worth defending. And here's the phrase that I want to give to people that we use with our children that sums all of this up. You can definitely say more, you can expand it, but in my household, from the moment my wife was pregnant with both our kids, I started every day would get down to her stomach and say, self-defense is a right that will never be denied. And I'm not talking just legally. I'm talking in my terms morally. Those are my deepest beliefs in right to life, liberty, freedom, and security, and not have somebody interfere with your life, liberty, freedom, and security. Self-defense is a right that will never be denied. And my kids have heard this hundreds of thousands of times, even before they were born. They heard these sounds, and they hear it all the time. And along with that then comes the conversation of helping them understand of what the difference between our laws, our bylaws, our rules that society has in schools and within our cities and in the world and all that stuff, and understanding that self-defense oftentimes can and has to exist outside of those laws and within those laws, and understanding that there is also a moral law, that you in this world are an individual human being that has beliefs. And somebody can come along and create a law that you find morally reprehensible. And in that, self-defense is a right that will never be denied. And I mean that from never deny yourself the human right to defend what you believe in, wholeheartedly believe in. And not everybody is always going to agree with you on that. But that's why it's so important that we develop these beliefs and we look within ourselves first and foremost, and we look within our society and truly start to understand what is it that we fucking believe. Because as we're talking about beliefs, and Brad's first one was that you have to have self-love, you have to have self-worth. You have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that your life is worth defending, and that self-defense is a right that will never be denied. Because one of the other exercises we do is we create a list, and this list is constantly being tweaked as we grow and become different people. But what are you willing to die for? And that's a question that is very easy to ask people, but is very, very difficult to truly answer when you strip away ego, when you strip away all the masculinity and all the bullshit and all the different masks that we wear, and to truly have a conversation with yourself and know yourself and your beliefs so intimately that you can really sit down and write down what is truly worth dying for. And it's not only is it not an impossible task, it's not an overly hard task. It's easy, but it's not simple. Or it's simple, but it's not easy, I guess, is the better way to put that. But we have men and women that serve our country and go overseas and fight and sometimes pay the ultimate price for a belief. And it's not always the belief of why the government has sent them there in the first place. Sometimes it's a belief, and it's more often than not, it's a belief about the person to the left or the right of them. Has nothing to do with the overall political or overarching narrative. That maybe had something to do with why they ended up in a certain situation, but they are there because of the people and the bonds and the family. It's love. But they have figured out those beliefs. And that's what allows them to step into harm's way and do whatever needs to be done. And that is also what will contribute to either your mental stability and health, creating the bulletproof mind, or it can contribute to taking a massive piece of the trauma pie, acting not in accordance with your conscience and your beliefs. That's the biggest way to get a massive slice of the PTSD pie. So again, we're on this thing of like, to get the killer instinct, we have to talk beliefs. And you have to have a process to go through and say, what are my beliefs? And you have to have, in your training has to challenge you in your beliefs. You have to come face to face with what you say you believe in. It forces you to now say, this is what you say you believe in, now take that action, act on it. Even in just a scenario, it is possible to create those confrontations, right? Like boxing, kickboxing, a jiu-jitsu tournament, whatever, that's manufactured aggression. We can manufacture aggression. You can get in the ring and fight, spar, do whatever, and at the end of it, come on, go, fuck, that's what it was like to face another human being who's trying to, hurt me. Who's trying to knock me out, hurt me, beat me, like become victorious over me. And at the end of that, when it's all said and done, whether my hand is raised or whether I lost, I come out of there and go, fuck, I'm still alive. I can face this, and at the end of the day, I may be a little sore, but I'm okay. There's value in that. Same as contact sports. There's survivable value in these things. And so I want to keep it on the killer instinct topic, but if we can do these things in a physical front to teach people that it's like, yeah, we can confront this stuff physically and we can be okay with it. You can manufacture scenarios and opportunities to confront and come face to face with what your beliefs are, what you say your beliefs are. We've done scenarios where we've done them with our spouses. You can do them with your kids, and you can come in and somebody walks into a scenario, and this is a 3-dimensional environment. Like this is walls, lights, doors. I mean, it's not an open gym matted floor. This is like real world environmental stuff. And somebody walks in and they don't know that all of a sudden you have their spouse there, you have their kids there. And all of a sudden they walk in and they're like, what the fuck? Why is my wife here? Why are my kids here? And then you got somebody holding your wife and they have a knife through their throat or they got a gun on your kid and stuff. And all of a sudden the fucking emotions become real. In your brain, logically, you're going, this is just a scenario. But emotionally, the blueprint, what you're witnessing, what you're all of a sudden feeling, you come face to face with who the fuck you are. You can talk all the shit you want to talk about what you do. But the second that you're in it, now what determines what that person does is their belief system. Because that impacts their mindset. And that mindset determines what they do. And you see whether they have the killer instinct or not. And maybe this is a good time because most people would think if I was in there and I saw that, I'd fucking kill people. I'd lose my shit. You don't have killer instinct. That's not killer instinct. That's called condition black. And from the first day we start weaponizing people, we teach people how to avoid that fucking bear trap. Because that is untrained and unrestrained. That is an emotional reaction. Amateurs react. You don't think the bad guys, when they got someone of value to you, you don't think they understand the bargaining chip they have? You don't think that they can predict and anticipate the reaction that most human beings would have? You play right into their hand. You get tunnel vision. You get cognitive rubbernecking. You get stuck. You get fixated. And then you become easy pickings. So it's this thing where people are like, Matt, you do that to me and that happens this and I'm going crazy. It's like, it's words, it's words, it's words. There's a scale. And on one end of the scale of killer instinct, I would put focus. And on the other end of the scale, I would put fucking chaos. And I'm not talking external. I'm talking internal. Mm-hmm. When people have killer instinct, right, we said it's like being in the eye of the tornado. If something emotionally, Dustin talked about the place of no pity, where you're not ruled by your emotions, you're in the still mind. Outside of that, to the left of that, to the right of that, just front of that, or just back of that, is the fucking tornado. And that's where all the debris is, all the emotions are raging. Now take a class 5 tornado that has millions and millions of liters of high octane fuel in it and ignite the fucking thing. So imagine now we got a tornado of fire plus debris. When you're not in the center of it, you're in that suck zone, like you're in that, you're not going to survive. That's condition black. And in violence, life and death, family, kids, innocent people, I mean, it is that chaos. It is that toxic. But when you have the killer instinct, the still mind, you have absolute front focus. Still mind, front focus. Emotions are not non-existent. The emotions are still. They're there. But they become accessible. They become motivational fuel. Whereas the other side, the chaos, I'm referring to mental, emotional, physiological chaos, which then causes physical chaos. And now you're overreacting, underreacting, or you're doing nothing. And so again, it's like this picture we have to paint of killer instinct. I think most people, the symbolism that they'd have in their mind's eye is an image of somebody absolutely going fucking apeshit. I mean, just the biggest blackout, raging Hulk fucking moment that you could ever see, where somebody is so emotionally, mentally fractured. They just, and yeah, but that's not Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct has focus. What do you guys want to add to that, or what's your response to that?
Just like as an analogy, if you had a gunman walk into a public place, a mall, and he's shooting people and like a full out terrorist type situation, and you had two choices. It's like, okay, you can take a man, we'll say a man. You can take a man who's completely out of control, like you just described, like condition black, just freaking out, angry, just off the rails, losing his mind about what's happening inside. You want to give that guy an assault rifle and say, okay, go in there and sort this out?
Yeah.
Or do you want to hand it to a tier 1 special ops guy and be like, could you go in there and sort this out? Because that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
The guy who's in condition black, emotionally out of control, like, he's not going to have any kind of focus or strategy or tactics or capability at all. Innocent people are going to get hurt by him just as much as the other person. But you send in the tier 1 operator, I mean, that's Killer Instinct. It's professionalism, right? It's amateur versus professional. I don't know if that helps people to kind of just see a difference between the two.
Yeah.
Because most people know like how Navy SEALs operate. They kind of understand the thousands and thousands of hours that go into what they do. And that's part of what they're doing is they're developing and honing a killer instinct, just like what we're talking about. They don't teach those special forces guys to just frickin' black out and lose it and just go crazy. Go find the bad guys and just go crazy, man. It'll be perfect. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, get yourself psyched up and then go flying in there like a madman.
Yeah, exactly. Like, nobody in their right mind would be like, oh, that's a good idea. And yet when it comes to like personal survival, like, personal self-defense, we'll say, it's like, for some reason that's on people's radar that might work.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why would it? Why would it work for you if it doesn't work for, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think too that this is a good point to add another aspect to this conversation, because as we talk about that still mind, we talk about Killer Instinct is the activation of core beliefs, deepest beliefs. And I want to be real clear that for weaponized protectors, right? Good people, strong moral compass, strong, clear, well thought out, well defined, constantly evolving as we evolve beliefs, and you enter into this still mind, you understand that love is the fuel for this, not hate. And this sounds very zen-y, right? But like, hate clouds your judgment, or maybe that's actually very Star Warsy, right? The dark side. Hate's powerful, but it clouds everything. It's like, when it's love that fuels you, right? Self-love, love for your family, love for innocent people, love for, the moral high ground and empathy, not just for yourself, but for everybody, right? And you have those beliefs. That is so powerful, but it allows you to be very clear, to have the focus. That's what the training does, because the training says, listen, I have the focus, but the training gives you what to put the focus through. You know what I mean? It's like the focus has to come through a lens of clarity, which is what we call, what am I facing? What's the threat? And what do I do about it? The mission demands and the mission commands. But it's love that is absolutely fueling this. And it's, I think, important that the other sides, like the killer instinct, is ruthlessness. And ruthlessness is the greatest definition I ever heard of ruthlessness. That changed what I thought it was. For many years, I love that word, ruthless. But it always conjured up an element of evil. Now, I always thought, okay, well, evil, but a good man in defense of his life or the innocent, at times needs a touch of evil intent. You know what I mean? But all of a sudden, one thing switched. And my instructor said to me one time, he said, you want to know when someone's ruthless? Is when you have a friend and he borrows a button-down dress shirt from you. And he brings it back 3 days later, and that shirt has been pressed, folded with the cardboard in the middle, pins into the collar, sleeves tight, and he's got that fucking shit shrink wrapped just like when you brought it home from the fucking store, and he gives it back to you that way with complete gratitude for having lent that to you. That's a ruthless motherfucker. And that hit. And I was like, oh, I've been thinking about ruthless as like the Hulk thing. And it's not. Because when he said it to me, there was ruthless. He was being ruthless with his words. He didn't use 30 words when he only needed 10. Every word that he used, the tone was like folding that shirt, pressing it, steaming it, pinning the collars, wrapping it, and handing it back. And I thought, God, imagine what it would be like to face an individual that was ruthless in the defense of their life. And I want to put something, because one of these podcasts, I would like to break down the 5 R's. We are what we call weaponized protect R. So the R at the end of protect, not protect with the OR like it might be spelled, protect R. And the 5 R's are ready, real, resilient, relentless, and ruthless. And each of those R's represents a core archetype, a core belief, a core value to us. And the one I want to share you that builds it, when I was explained ruthless, is attention to detail. The ruthless in our protect R, the 5 R's, is simply described to people with this little short saying: value more and tolerate less. Value more and tolerate less. And to me, that encompasses that attention to detail. When you value your life, when you value your freedoms, you value the life of your children, you value the life of innocent people, you value, you have that moral compass. Being ruthless, that attention to detail in defense of your life, is you value more, tolerate less. And it's like there is an attention to detail in that. And if you flip the switch, that still mind, the killer instinct, fueled by love, you are in that moment 100% invested in injuring the individual that is the threat to you and your family. Injuring, not hurting, injuring. That is ruthless. You see, if you have to defend your life against bigger, stronger, outgunned, outmanned enemies who have a blueprint for how to successfully murder, fucking rape, assault, you need to be ruthless, and you have to injure. That's killer instinct. That's the ruthlessness with the viciousness, the attention to detail, the viciousness to say, I have to do what I have to do. We have spent time in this podcast. Please go back to the beginning of our podcast. One of the first episodes in this podcast, we talked about hard realities. Have to have a conversation about the hard realities of violence. And often we're talking and trying to get people to wake up and go, understand, violence is its own fucking language, people. It's not fucking sport. It's different. They have a blueprint. Bad guys understand this language, and until you can accept that it's a different language and then start to study and learn the language, they have the advantage. But in this conversation, it's the opposite. One of the hard realities that most people just, they cannot engage in this conversation, much less get there, is that what I'm talking about being ruthless and being vicious and the 100% invested in injuring, is you have to take this person out of commission in the most brutally efficient manner that is available to you in that moment, devoid of the emotional hurricane that's going on, done with a still clear mind, guided by a sense of moral, a strong sense of right and wrong, a strong and clear focus of what you fucking truly believe is worth living and dying for. Even to the point that I may spend, society may not agree with me. You go to court, you defend based off your strongest moral beliefs, based off what you believe is imminent, grievous bodily harm and death, but you so value your right to life and the life of your children that you do what needs to be done deemed by you in that moment based off the imperfect information that you're reading that moment, and yet society and lawyers and courts and media and perspective can be twisted and spun and hung upside down and all kinds of fucking shit, but you do it and you never fucking blink. You never blink in terms of your regret. You never fucking blink, you never waver. We've had many conversations about this. There are situations, there are blueprints, there are things that if they were to happen in my presence that were affecting me or my children, that I will do what I morally absolutely fucking believe is the high ground. And whether I die or whether I spend the rest of my life in jail, I will not fucking blink, I will not regret. And that, I don't say that lightly, and I know you guys wouldn't say it lightly either. It's years of trying to of really digging down and constantly looking at this and making this real. Because that's just such an easy ego thing to say.
Yeah.
But when it's not coming from the fucking ego, it's coming from 30 years of fucking work. It's coming from having faced an attempted murder situation and knowing what that's like and seeing this, like it's coming from a different fucking place. And the training, the weaponizing process is what allowed me to do that. And it's so funny because if you've never experienced the training the way we're talking about, the only way I can tell you is, have you ever been taught a side kick? Has anyone ever taught you how to do a jab? Has anybody ever taught you how to do an arm bar or pull guard or do a sweep? These are the things people go, of course, I've done martial arts. And even if they haven't, they go, oh yeah, I know that. I got a buddy, he was taught me some things. Like, you can learn shit, right? Why? Because there's a system to teach it. And everybody just accepts it. Even if they've never done it, they go, of course. I know that. But yet you tell them, you can be taught killer instinct. You can be taught about your beliefs. You can be taught how to change your morals and values and build them. Like, it's like building a fucking fort. You know, back in the day, our ancestors, man, you built a fucking fort. Why? So you could defend shit. Because what? You knew attacks were coming. You have to have a mental and emotional and physiological defenses built. Mental, emotional, body armor. That's our belief system. That's the process of defining your killer instinct. Because real quick, if we flip the switch, what's the other side of killer instinct? That is equally as powerful and equally as much killer instinct. The ability to do what? The ability to fucking intent, 100% invested in intent, injure, up to the point of having to take life when legally and morally justified. And the other side is to what?
Push it off.
Walk the fuck away. Remove yourself from the situation. Do nothing. Despite the fact that your ego and your emotions are being hit and being embarrassed and whatever the fuck it is, it's to walk away. That's a ruthless motherfucker. That takes viciousness, equal viciousness, to walk away. Now, some would say that that might take more. I totally get the analogy. It's the same. Someone that can walk away when it is not warranted. Despite the fact that there are so many forebrain rationalization stressors that are trying to convince you otherwise, but it's all ego bullshit. It's all a skewed sense of moral, of like moral superiority, we call it. We're not talking moral superiority. My morals are not superior to anybody else's morals. Yet I sure as fuck could develop some morals that make me believe my morals are superior to other people, which in turn make me believe that I'm superior to other fucking people. But that's just bullshit. It's bad training or it's just wrong fucking thinking. There's morals. Does that kind of make sense? And so you have to have that ability to fucking walk away, and you have to have the ability to injure. 100% invested in or out. And at the end of the day, same thing. Don't fucking blink. You guys, I'll let you speak here in a second. Sorry, guys. But what are the 3 fights? Remember, there's 3 fights you're going to have. There's the fight.
You think you're going to.
Yeah. Well, the fight you train for.
Yeah. The fight you actually get in, and then the fight you have with yourself on the way home.
Yes. There's the fight you train for. The assault you train for. There's the assault that you get in, and then there's the fucking assault you do on yourself on the way home. Why did I do this? I should have done this. That's what I mean when I say you don't fucking blink. When it's not warranted, when it's not justified, legally and morally justified, you walk the fuck away. That's antisocial aggression. That means there's choice. Remove the escalator, deter. You walk the fuck away from it. And you don't get in the car, drive home, and you're all fucking pissed off because your ego and your skewed sense of moral superiority is telling you, what the fuck, you should have done this, you should have done. Your buddy's in the back, I wouldn't take that fucking shit. That's, again, no training. Untrained, unrestrained. That's exactly how I was. That's exactly how you guys were. That's exactly how we all are, because I didn't get it. My gym class in elementary school didn't teach me about violence. It didn't teach me about self-defense. It didn't teach me about personal protection. It didn't teach me about beliefs when it comes to life and death situations and moral compasses and all this type of stuff. And you didn't get it in gym class. You don't get it in high school. You don't get it in college or university. So unless you have some sort of process designed specifically to teach this process, to teach this, it's this development.
It's also gone from our culture, right? We don't live in a warrior culture that that we can describe from the past. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not, you got to seek it out.
Yeah.
You got to seek out this type of learning and this type of growth and development, because it's, where do you get these lessons?
Yeah.
Where do you get this exposure?
I think because we've circled, it's come back up again, that it's worth spending maybe our last few minutes of this podcast talking about a bit. But yeah, I mean, there has been throughout history, we can look back to warrior cultures, and within those warrior cultures, they were surrounded, like there was a warrior society, warriors and a warrior culture within a warrior society. Spartans obviously are the one that most people would think of. And, nowadays, is there a warrior culture within modern society? And some would say, well, yes, in the military and law enforcement and organizations like that. But one of the biggest challenges is that the warrior culture is governed by a civilian society. And I say civilian society in the sense of like a non-warrior culture. And unfortunately, there's a lot of, there can be positive things that happen because of that. A balance, a homeostasis is always a great thing, but seldom, it's very difficult to keep things in homeostasis. And so now you have an effect where the warrior culture, they're not actually allowed to develop the warrior culture, the warrior beliefs. And again, this is where a lot of people, because I don't want to get into the whole policing debate, but I have a belief that one of the worst things that an organization can do is have a very high standard that is X, not tell the members of that organization what this standard is, and then not give them the training to be able to live up to the standard. There's a massive push for community-based policing. And of course, we want less lethal options, and we want all these different things, and we don't want to see abuse and use of force and all this type of stuff. But the reality is that we as a civilian society do not allow our law enforcement, military, the time or the budget they need to train adequately. We don't, it's like deny them the training that would help them. There's, for example, like the Gracies have a GST program, the Gracie Survival Tactics, and there was a massive push after a few incidents last year where they really pushed to make that a standard training level and for all in all North America. They're trying to do it through the world, but it was finally gaining some traction. And now a program like that within law enforcement should be the absolute standard. It should be one of the pinnacle training programs, and they should not just be mandated to do it once for 20 hours and then recertify with a 4-hour refresher every 4 years. It's not enough. So I don't want to get too far, but again, why is that? Well, you would see use of force and fatalities and all these things involving law and police officers. You'd see them drop completely if we actually just said, listen, this is a fucking warrior culture these people have to have. And we're going to train them as professional warriors. We're going to educate their minds. We're going to educate their bodies physiologically, emotionally. We're going to give them the physical strategies, tactics, and tools to do what we want them to do, which is to be able to serve and protect. And you could create this entire warrior culture around that, and there would be no need for use of force, like for excessive force. They'd have the skills and the training. It's so funny, isn't it? The more trained somebody is, the better, the higher level of skills, the less force they use. It's completely, as training goes up, use of force goes down. Why? Because they don't panic, right? They regulate. They activate their killer instinct and they stand in the center of the storm of chaos with a still mind. Emotions there, but not ruling, right? And then they have the strategy, tactics, and tools to effectively and decisively handle the situation. And there's no need for... They're not the ones that are going to cause escalation. And that correlation has been proven time and again. But when you say, well, you get 6 hours a year dedicated to, your defensive tactics training, but within that we have to also recertify you on use of pepper, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, they don't get any training. And then yet we say to them, well, why are you having to do this with people? Because they don't know. So now you're not living our standard. Well, no one's training me to the standard. That's a whole separate conversation, but we circle back around to it, so it's worth talking about because it ties into killer instinct, it ties into warrior culture, it ties into beliefs. I don't know. Is there any points? Yeah, Dustin.
One last point about, Brad said, we haven't grown up in a warrior culture. You have to go and seek that out if you want that. And so to just kind of take that comment and tie it all the way back to the beginning of when you asked us, what are some things people have to believe to develop killer instinct? And I think one of the biggest ones is, it's like the right to life, of course. But to take that a step further, it's like the belief that it's my responsibility to protect that life. And I think that fits in with Brad's idea of like finding your own warrior culture. It's like, yeah, because you're ultimately responsible to protect your own life, the life of your family. Do you know what I mean? So 100%. I just think we essentially have been talking about that all night.
Yeah.
But we've sort of been talking about it like everybody already understands that it's their responsibility to take it upon themselves. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that and be like, in case you missed the underlying tone of the whole conversation, like it's your responsibility to go out and find that training to develop that killer instinct because, you know what I mean?
Well, again, a great point and a really good point to end on because without tribe, we have a tribe. Like I don't call them members and clients; they're part of our tribe, and because of exactly what you just said, you need the culture. The culture is more important than anything because that is again what allows you to start formulating your beliefs. When you're around people, and again, I think there's a potential to have a negative viewpoint, or at least a somewhat negative or skewed paradigm when people think about like cultures in terms of like cults and militias and all these kind of like fringe groups that maybe exist where they get these crazy fucking cultures going in paradigms. At least seems different to the rest of us, obviously, right? They're very extreme, but we're a tribe and a culture that has a strong sense of empathy, and again, driven by love, not by hate, driven and founded on inclusion, not exclusion. I don't know. I mean, I know I can have a pretty solid, educated guess, but there has never been somebody that has come to us over the years. Not everybody has fully integrated into our tribe because that wasn't their path. But they have come to us because they had a real problem. And this is one of the things that I most love about the work that we get to do is that we're solving a real world problem for people in the sense that we've had many of our clients come because their life has been threatened. They've been in life and death situations. There's some, they work in a high risk, first responder type role. And this shit is very fucking real to them. But my point was that whenever somebody came, alls we can ever see is and feel is not, this is a human being who at some point in time, it comes down to a human being fighting for their life. It comes down to a human being trying to protect what and who they love and what they believe in. And that's where this inclusion comes in. You know what I mean? Where there is no other, there is no other things that we see with them. It's like, who doesn't deserve the right to defend their life? Like, self-defense is a right that will never be denied. And I say that, and maybe that lies at the core of our tribe, is that anybody that comes here is here because we all believe as a tribe and as a community in the right for us to defend our lives. And that puts us all, Paul used to always tell me, man, we're all in the same boat. And what puts us in the same boat is death. We all die. Nobody gets out of this alive. And at any point in time, our life can be taken from us early. And when that's the end result, that somebody can try to take your life, that puts us all in the same boat. And I love that. I love that feeling of it. And that when you're around a group of people that so deeply believe in your right to life, that every time you're training, every time you're talking, every time you're socializing, every time you're connected, every time there's a correspondence, everything you read, everything you're seeing, you feel it. Fuck, man, these people give a fuck that I'm on this planet. It's like these people, it's like, again, in everything I try to put out, I do it because at the end of it, what I hope people feel, it's like, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. What I'm saying is a lot of different shit. How I'm saying it every time is I'm trying to convey one single message. Your fucking life has value. Your life is worth fucking defending. You may have never been told that before. I'm fucking telling you now, you have the right to life, liberty, freedom, and security. Your life has value. Your life is worth fucking defending, but it is your responsibility to pick up that fucking responsibility. It is your responsibility, your fucking job to find the training, to find the culture, to find the tribe that helps support that so you never fucking forget that your life has value. That's fucking killer instinct. That just so into you. You got to be around people that value you as much as they value themselves. And this is our tribe. I mean, you guys show up here. You guys would show up, I mean, anywhere at any point in time. And it's not because we're buddies. That's part of it. It's because you care. I can turn around and say, I got 5 news guys coming in tomorrow. And like, from where? Who are these guys? Never ask that question. I got 5 people coming tomorrow and I need people. And we would have a flood of people showing up here. Why? Because if I say we have 5 people coming tomorrow and I need your help, what do I need your help for? Do I need your fucking help for coaching? Do I need your help feeding them lunch? Do I need your help talking? I don't need your help for any of that stuff. What do I need your help doing? Solving their fucking problem. And that's why you'd come. You go, there's people that don't know if they're valuable enough or don't know how to defend that. They know they are, but they don't know how to defend that. I'm there. Because that's what motivates us. That's ruthlessness. That's being fucking vicious. You guys have canceled tons of shit, your own personal life, time away from family. We'll fucking bring family. We do whatever we have to do to make training happen for people. Why? Because the underlying tone of everything we do is us telling people, showing people, supporting people, your life has value, your life is worth the fucking defending. You might not know it, we know it. Stick with us long enough and you'll believe it too, because you become who you surround yourself with. That's what it is to be a weaponized protector. That's what it is to earn your coin. Then you fucking know. All right, any other thoughts on this, guys? Sorry, another rant at the end of it.
Yeah, I think just, one thing that I'll speak for myself, but I know I'm probably speaking for you guys as well, is that we're not unique. I know this is what we said earlier. We're not unique. We weren't born with the beliefs that we have about defending our lives, about violence, about coming from a place of love. Like, those are all things that we've invested a tremendous amount of time and energy in developing and building for ourselves and obviously for each other. But again, like, that's no different than people that just haven't been exposed or whatever. It's like, it's a process there's a process to go through and do what we have done and what you can do and continue to do. Right. So this is the one thing I wanted to share for final thoughts from me. So
perfect. Awesome. Appreciate it. Dustin?
I'm good, man.
Okay. All right. I'll let Dustin's final wise words be the end of it because that was done with conviction. I'm done. I'm good. All right, everybody. Listen, great conversation. We could go on this one for hours. I feel like there's so many other components to this that I want to get into, but we're going to put a pin in it for tonight here. Let's see, Shane. Nobody's born a warrior in the exact same way that nobody's born an average man. 100%. We make ourselves into one or the other. Great Carlos Castaneda quote. Love it. Yeah, awesome. All right, everybody. Listen, thank you guys for watching, commenting, Shane and stuff. Everybody that follows us, like, share, comment. Help us spread our message. It's super valuable and important to us. It's our passion to help weaponize the world. I think more than ever now, we need more weaponized men and women and kids and everybody in this world. So we couldn't do it without you guys listening, commenting, sharing, liking. You have to take action, get engaged. We just deeply appreciate it so much. And I'll leave it again. Right now, we just started June. Today's June 2nd. It depends when you listen to this. For us, it's June 2nd. And we are I'm pushing off a summer, the 90 days. 90-day intensive in 3 months, doing only a couple times a week, 30 minutes from anywhere in the world, virtual. We have a 90-day intensive program where you learn to protect yourself, family, and property from violent criminal assault. The 90-day intensive is how you start with us. Right now, it is the single greatest offer that I've ever put together. You can do the 90-day intensive. If you sign up and do this, not only do you get 90 days of training and coaching. You can do it anywhere in the world. It's remote. You can log. It's all this great shit. But you can also get over $5,000 worth of free training and gear with the deal that we have going on right now. It is absolutely insane. So I'm pushing for everybody. 90 days. 90 days from now, 3 months from now, you can be a totally different fucking human being. You can start, build the foundation, weaponize, earn your fucking weaponized protector coin. And it's a really cool thing. So you can check out our webpage. There'll be some information in the final credits here, but head to awakentheprotectr.ca, scroll down to the bottom, look for the 90-day intensive, check it out. It is an amazing offer. Now's the time. This is the summer. Change your life. Take responsibility. All right, Brad, Dustin, thank you guys so much. I will see you guys in a couple of days in our Inner Circle Sundays, where we take the core of our tribe and fucking have a ton of fun and kicking ass and doing our thing. So we'll see you guys in a couple of days. Thanks for tonight. All right, everybody, that is it. Stay safe, stay weaponized. Chat again soon. Hey, thanks so much for listening. And listen, if you found this content valuable, here's 3 different ways that I can help you weaponize for free. First, grab a free copy of my ebook, The Education of a Weaponized Man. To get your free copy today, head to ebook.awakentheprotectr.ca. Number 2, you can take a free workshop where you will discover the 10 insights violent criminals don't want you to know. To take this workshop, head to workshop.awakentheprotectr.ca. The third way is to head to my website and check out all of my freeline programs that cover everything from mindset to strategies. To check us out, go to awakentheprotectr.ca. And finally, leave a 5-star review so that we can reach more good people like you who are ready to weaponize and rise regardless.